when we are grieving the death of someone whom we love, that death becomes like the rock in the desert. And it stops us from going forward, and it threatens to crush us. When we are sick, or when someone whom we love very deeply is sick, it is like a rock before us. It breaks us, it stops us, and it hurts us. Perhaps when we're facing financial crisis, or disappointment, or brokenness of relationship, all of those things are like the rock that faced the people in Rephidim. It stops us from going forward. And really, often in life, every human being feels that they are stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And this old story about Moses in Rephidim is the story that tells us how to act when we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the answer is simple. God says to every one of us the very same thing that he said to Moses: take up your staff and strike that rock. Smash it with all of your strength. And what is the staff? Well, God has given all of you a staff, a walking stick with which to journey through life. Maybe some of you remember that old hymn, "My faith it is an oaken staff." God has given you that to help you to walk. And God has given you that staff so when you come up against the rock, whether it's death, or sickness, or financial trouble, or sadness, or sorrow, or broken relationship, God says, do not let that rock stop, or crush, or humiliate you. Take out your staff and strike that rock. And if you do, if you act with faith, two things will happen. Number one, the rock will break apart, and out of that rock will flow living water to bring you life. And secondly, when the rock breaks apart, you will see the direction in which you can go, the direction that was hidden from you up until the point where, with courage and faith and trust, you struck the rock. Let me help you to a further understanding of this story by telling you about the names that Moses gave to that place, Rephidim. He changed the name to Massah and Meribah. And Massah and Meribah are two Hebrew words that are kind of hard for us to explain or translate. There really is no direct translation, but I think the best translations are these. Massah means, I have lost my trust in the future. I have been hurt. I have been stopped. I have been disappointed. I have Massah. I have lost my trust in the future, and I am frightened. And Meribah means, my heart has grown hard. Massah and Meribah. I have lost my trust in the future, and my heart has grown hard. And that is the condition into which any human being can fall. If they suffer, if they fail, if they hurt. I want you to know something about what happens when you live in Massah and Meribah. The first thing is this. It's easy for us to think that if we lose our faith and if our hearts grow hard, that God will be angry with us. But let me assure you of this. God is not angry with you when you live in Massah and Meribah. Because God knows if you have lost your trust in the future, or if your heart has grown hard, it's not because you're a bad person. It's because you have suffered. You have been hurt. You have really been disappointed. And when you are in that place, God's concern is not to be angry with you because you are faithless. God's concern is to be compassionate towards you because you have been hurt. And it's no fun living in the land of Massah and Meribah, the land of I have lost my trust in the future and my heart has grown hard. And what God wants to say to you is, you don't have to live there. Take up your staff, strike the rock, let the rock be split in half. Let the living water flow, and let your direction be made clear to you again. I hope you'll have the courage that the next time you're stuck in between that rock and that hard place to say, Lord, Lord, help me. Help me take up the staff and give me the strength to strike that rock, and let my trust come back and give me a heart of flesh where once I had a heart of stone. That's the personal message that is in Massah and Meribah for you. I want to tell you about the message for the church, for St. Andrew's, what it means when we come up against the rock and we might be frightened to go ahead. This church has come into the desert. This church has been in that place where the rock was before us. And I am thrilled to say that you, under the leadership of your session and the other leaders in your church, did not lose heart, did not lose trust in the future. Instead, you took up that staff, which is your faith, and you struck the rock, and you moved ahead. And you have created for yourselves goals and visions and missions, which are God's direction into the promised land, and you have gone past that rock, you have broken it, and the living water has come out. And what I mean by that is this: you have created a budget here in the church which is courageous and daring and faith-based and mission-minded, even in a time when we are living through difficult economic circumstances. You don't have to look at the financial report in the bulletin, but maybe you could. And if you do, you will see some wonderful things. Early in this year, we set a budget that was wild and daring and courageous. Way to go! That's the sign of a people saying, we will strike the rock and we will move ahead. And you'll see that for our Presbyterians' sharings, givings, we are slightly ahead of schedule. And that's amazing. Because those mission givings in our mission budget this year is $90,000. Those are the givings that go towards feeding the hungry around the world, and giving fresh water to those who are thirsty, and medical aid to those who have nothing, and education to those who have no schools, and rebuilding societies where they have been destroyed. And a lot of people in the world today say mission is useless, it cannot be done. But we're saying we believe that we can go ahead and change the whole world by our donations and our missions, and we're doing it.